Welcome back to my channel. My name's Lucy. I share videos on the topic of long COVID, chronic fatigue syndrome and mind-body approaches that can be used to help those conditions and other mind-body conditions. I also offer coaching to people who are interested in applying this approach to their own recovery and need some support doing that. So today's video, I wanted to talk about one of the number one most important aspects when it comes to recovery using a mind-body approach. What I'm sharing in this video is based on my own personal experience and my reading about a mind-body approach. I'm not sharing medical or mental health advice. What is one of the most important things that you need as part of your recovery strategy when you're using a mind-body approach, and how do you put that into place? So one of the most important things is consistency. This is not easy to master. Consistency is challenging because often we are not responding in an intuitive way to symptoms or to lack of progress or challenges. Our natural way to respond would be probably with fear, with thinking negatively about the situation, of concern, of deciding to try something else. And often we try so many different things when we're unwell that we get used to this approach of having one foot out of the door because we're kind of got something else on our list that we might try next. Even for people who are using a mind-body approach and are really committed to this approach, it can be really hard to sustain a sense of consistency just because it is naturally challenging to respond well when symptoms come up, when symptoms get worse, or when we're doing new activities that we haven't done in a while. It's really hard to have that level of consistency and to consistently begin to feel safe within our body. And I think the important thing to say is consistency is hard work, because it's not necessarily the case that we need to be consistent with something that's straightforward and simple. It's not always a simple process to have our mindset in the right place during this process. Sometimes consistency also involves knowing what to do. And for some people, they don't know what to do. It isn't clear to them, even though they might know some different mind-body tools, it's not clear to them how they need to respond in certain situations. And sometimes perfectionism can come into this because we want to respond well, we want to do everything right, but there's no perfect way and there's no one way that's going to fit for everyone in terms of reducing symptoms and increasing activity and increasing your general functionality. So I think it's really helpful to think about consistency, but also in a flexible way where our expectations are not sky high, and that if we're not consistent, we don't want to be criticizing ourselves, punishing ourselves, telling ourselves we're not doing well enough. Consistency is about doing well enough. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's about doing well enough over a sustained period and using the tools and techniques in a way that's consistent. There's a few areas where consistency is really important. One area is our response to symptoms. If our response to symptoms is consistently building new associations that we're safe, we're okay, the symptoms are not harmful, the symptoms are not dangerous, and that we're managing the fear every time we get symptoms, that is really helpful for the long term. Another area that's important for consistency is being able to identify emotional triggers and being able to process some of those emotional experiences. And when I say process, it's different for different people, and it doesn't necessarily mean having a deep dive in terms of emotions and going into the past and processing emotions really deeply. It can mean recognizing an emotion validating that emotion, allowing yourself to sit with that emotion or allowing that emotion to be there for a period of time, sometimes that is enough. And that is enough for symptoms to reduce or for us to be able to move forward. Another area with consistency that is really important is activity, and continuing to increase our activity level at an appropriate rate that feels safe and that's incorporating joy and things that you really want to do. It can be hard sometimes for people to find the motivation to increase activity, or it can be hard to manage the fear related to increasing activity. And that takes a bit of perseverance. For some people, it's hard to really get going and continue doing it consistently, because it might be that doing a little bit more activity increases symptoms. And that's really triggering and really hard and feels really difficult. So this person is putting it off and doesn't want to do it again. Sometimes that's related to not having tools that are helpful enough for that process. And sometimes that's also related to struggling with the response to symptoms and building up a safer association with having symptoms. So they want to keep avoiding increasing activity. But we need to consistently work on this and consistently do this in order to get out of where we are. With all of these mind-body tools, we can make progress, but in order to make a full recovery, increasing activity is part of the process. And for so many people, this is really challenging, and it's challenging to do it consistently. Another area of consistency is maybe not going too fast with increasing activity, because sometimes what happens is a part of us gets overly excited, enthusiastic, and driven, and runs away with the plans around doing more. And I think we need some level of consistency around this, so that actually we always are feeling safe and grounded to some extent when doing new activity. And it can be great to have excitement and enthusiasm about moving forward and about doing new activity. So this is a good thing, but sometimes if a part is taking over with this type of energy, it is revving up our nervous system rather than helping us feel calm and relaxed and grounded and safe. It might be a rushed energy or a chaotic energy or an energy of excitement that is just not grounded enough for other parts of us to feel safe, or for our nervous system to be okay in that situation without some increase in symptoms. Sometimes this will happen, and that doesn't mean it's something's gone wrong or a mistake has happened. It's part of the learning process of increasing activity, and there's no exact science. And I don't think measuring things in a really structured, strategic way is necessarily going to lead to perfect results. The most important aspect from my perspective is increasing at a rate that feels safe. And for some people that's faster than others. And for some people it's slower than others. And for some people they have to manage the consistency around, say, perfectionist traits or anxiety, and responding consistently well to a part of them that feels really anxious about increasing activity is really important during that process, and probably takes quite a lot of work and energy to do that well. So consistency is important in so many areas. Also, trying specific tools consistently is important, but also questioning how is it working, and if you've used a specific tool for many months and you haven't noticed an improvement in your condition, then trying to figure out, is there something else that you can try in terms of a different mind-body approach, or do you need to get some help with using this tool or problem solving so that you can figure out how to move forward consistently? Sometimes people invest so much time and energy into something, and even finances into something, that they don't want to give up on it. But I think it is important, whether you're following a mind-body approach or something else, to have a critical perspective on it and ask, is this reducing my symptoms? Am I increasing my activity? And even if it's slow, that's great. You know, we just want to see progress and to get there eventually. It doesn't need to be a really quick turnaround. I really do believe that full recovery for the long term is way more valuable than quick progress that might not be sustained. So think about how consistent you are at the moment with what you're doing. What is a barrier to being consistent? What challenges arise with consistency? And how can you stay accountable to doing the things that you know help, or to responding or managing fear or anxiety or doubt when things are more challenging? Because I think the other part of consistency is maybe it would be much easier if it was always the same challenge, it was always the same level of challenge. But it's not. We have these ups and downs. We have certain weeks that are way more challenging. And therefore being consistent at those times is much more challenging. So it's not easy to stay consistent, but it can make a big difference in the long run. And with any approach, in order for it to be successful, some level of consistency is required. And when we're unwell, it can be just difficult to have that level of consistency. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe. If you are struggling with consistency and feel like you would really benefit from some accountability and someone supporting you through those challenging experiences, or through being consistent with some of the mind-body approaches, there's a link to booking a call with me in the description. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on staying consistent, and if anything in particular has helped you with staying consistent that you can share with other people. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram or join the Facebook group, there's links in the description. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.